Hey, I'm Brendan Quinn here alongside Michigan football beat writer Nick Baumgardner following Jim Harbaugh's Monday press conference after a win this past weekend over Oregon State and an upcoming game against UNLV. Short and sweet today, I'd say, would be the description for Jim Harbaugh. Just kind of came in, and it was a very businesslike session with the media. Last week he was kind of a little more forthcoming, maybe the product of coming off of a loss as opposed to a win. But Nick, I guess let's start off with, was again asked about Jake Rudock and some turnover problems that have kind of crept up after 2 games, and kind of just stayed the company line of not defensive but defended him.
Yeah, and again, that's more along the lines of, I guess, what we've talked about, you and I anyway, and that he is the option. He's the guy. I mean, there's no debate in this. There's no questioning about it. He even said today that he confirmed it again, that redshirting Shane Morris is something they're considering doing if they can get away with it, and that Shane is the number 2 quarterback. But if they don't need him to play, he's not going to play. What happens with that, I have no idea, but we'll find that out down the road. But the bottom line is, he did make another mistake with that interception. The fumble, I don't really know if I want to blame him for that, considering there was nobody blocking the linebacker who leveled him. So bottom line is that he's the quarterback, and we'll have to wait and see, because I didn't, the interception, that was bad. I mean, that to have the interceptions the week before and then to come back and have another mistake, that's not what you want. But both those guys, Harbaugh and Rudock, have been very calm throughout this whole thing. So, I think, and that's ultimately the takeaway, is go with the calm option and move forward.
This idea of the possibility of Shane Morris redshirting is kind of just started to be born from, the decision, obviously, to not have him come in for the final kneel down to close the game. But was this something you expected, or had this been a consideration in your mind, or how do you kind of read this whole thing?
It's roster management, and it's another thing that, geez, I mean, we hate to keep crashing on the old staff, but I mean, they never managed the roster with this sort of stuff. I mean, they would burn red shirts. That would have never been something, I can comfortably say this, that wouldn't have been on Brady Hoke's radar. Let's make Shane still has a red shirt, let's not send him in to blow it on one play. They did that a couple different times with guys that were just like, why are you doing this? Like, what is the point of that? So, Shane should have gotten a red shirt his first year here. He didn't.
Yep.
We'll see how the quarterback situation plays out, but what it does is it ultimately gives Shane Morris the extra year to do with it whatever he wants. If that means he's here for, I'm not trying to say he's leaving,
right.
But I mean, it's the extra year. If they can get away with saying, we're going to preserve a year for you, which I totally understand, then you do it. And that's just thinking on your feet and understanding and being organized. And it's not just with Shane, it's with a lot of guys. It's with a lot of guys who, maybe they could have a chance to get in there and get some time at the end of a blowout. Right. But why the hell would you do that? Because, if you can keep them or give them that extra year and preserve them and just basically manage your roster the way it needs to be managed, then you save yourself a lot of headache, which the former staff really seemed to struggle with a lot.
And given the hornet's nest that Shane Morris was forced to live inside of last year, I think if they could do anything for that guy, that's probably a good call. Before we get out of here today, why don't we run through quickly injury updates, of which there were very few, but they were addressed in a way. Yeah,
Jordan Lewis, the big one, is a question mark. They'll evaluate his concussion as the week goes on. I would assume that'll be something they evaluate right up until the end of the week, and I guess it'll probably depend on how much he can practice. Good thing for Michigan is UNLV's passing game is a bit of a mess, so it's not like you're maybe going to totally miss him, but that's an important thing to monitor. He's their best he's their best cornerback. They don't have anybody.
They're going to be a 3 or 4 touchdown favorite.
Yeah, so UNLV, maybe err on the side of caution there. If he needs to sit out a week, he can sit out a week. Joe Carriage, there's a question mark with an arm, and then it sounded like Chase Winovich, Wyatt Schulman, and Mike McCray were all guys he said were working through something, which I think was an injury, but I guess he wasn't totally clear. He did say he expects news on a couple of those guys today, so they could have some of them back. But Lewis is the big one, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
One thing we've learned today is that you can't ask about a group of players who are all injured, because then he just speaks of them as a broad group. He'll say, a couple of them are doing all right, and you say, well, which ones? And you don't get anything. So I guess
the art of asking Jim Harbaugh questions is something that everyone needs to learn a little finer as we go forward.
Learning as we go here.
Absolutely.
So, well, that's it for Monday. We'll be back in a day or two with this week's edition of the Wolverine Beat. We'll see you guys then. So, for always, for Nick, I'm Brendan. Thanks for watching.